More Italian sub analysis. Today we are going to Subway, and I want to find out if there's anything redeeming in 2024 at Subway, especially with their Italian subs. And we're going into deep analysis today, and we're breaking everything down, and that's starting right now. In terms of ordering, they don't make it easy to order an Italian sub at these places anymore. They have too many options, and here there were like a handful of options, I think 4, under their Italiano section of the menu. The ultimate BMT, marked as a top pick, pepperoni, salami, ham, 2x provolone, lettuce, tomato, onion, MVP vinaigrette. That sounds like your most classic to an Italian sub. I think I'm just gonna do the Italian BMT because that's kind of your standard at Subway. When I was in there, I asked the young lady what the MVP dressing stood for, and she had no idea. She glazed over like I was asking a really odd question. I guess MVP, most valuable player. So I want to see kind of if it really is MVP. There's Parmesan cheese and other stuff in there. Let's see if it's at all flavorful and whether it adds anything here. Getting into it, this was $8, which is crazy to me. Like, this is gonna be like 3 bites. Unreal. So, looks like your standard Subway kinda dealio going on. You can see here, we got a nice, it feels like a nice fresh piece of bread. One of the things I used to hate about Subway is they give you kind of like a wrinkly piece of bread unless you got it toasted. And this actually feels fresh, but you could see it's gotten squished down quite a bit around the edges due to the moisture. It's almost like there's no substance to it. Just looking at the cross section, it's pretty packed with meat and cheese, and you could definitely tell there's double provolone on that. And it seems like it's sliced well, but let's see how it tastes. Okay, the dressing on this is like that standard supermarket Italian dressing. It totally coats your mouth, and there's a lot of herbs and stuff that kind of like pull you toward like the Italian, but not in like the subtle way that Italian seasonings would pull you in. More like a school lunch tomato sauce where it's like you need to be punched right in the face with it. As far as the meats and everything and the cheese, they bring almost no flavor, which is really weird because like this pepperoni looks like it's good quality pepperoni. So I don't really know what the deal is with that. All right, there's quite a bit to break down, and we're gonna get into that at the home studio. After I do all that, they have this like foot-long menu where there's a churro, a pretzel, and a foot-long cookie. Make sure you stick around, I'll try that at the end of this video. I'm gonna get a couple more bites of this sandwich on my way back to the home studio, and then we'll break it all down. Really what I wanna get down to here is the value. Obviously, spoiler alert, it's not gonna stack up very well. Now, when it comes to this Subway Ultimate BMT, the first thing we have to say, there's absolutely nothing ultimate about this thing. $7.99 for what it is honestly a little bit embarrassing and a far cry from kind of your $5 footlong territory. Holding this in my hand, it's almost like, what am I paying for here? Really, the flaws stand out a lot here. The main thing for me, I know Subway bread was never the highest quality thing on the planet, and I'm not one to be a snob about it and say, oh, you know, I expect so much more out of Subway. But having that sandwich in my hand and seeing kind of the bread disintegrate around everything it touched, it really was not a great visual, and I don't understand how that happens. Unless when they bake it, it's like all air, which is, I guess, plausible. But it's almost like anything that had any kind of moisture to it just completely like collapsed the bread, and it was just, I don't know, it was hard to eat through. In fact, when I got back to my office, I ended up tossing that and just sticking with the snacks. Now, Subway restaurants are known to be kind of bare bones in terms of what they can do. They have kind of their buffet area where they have all their condiments and stuff that they put on the sandwiches. Then they have their bread baking, kind of which happens on the side. Then they have that microwave, toaster, whatever that thing is, I don't know. And it seems like most of the action happens on the line there and with that toaster. And we're gonna see that toaster really gets overused quite a lot, even with these sidekicks that we're gonna talk about later in the video. But I thought I saw something in the news where Subway was back to actually slicing their cold cuts fresh. I will tell you that what went onto my sandwich definitely wasn't sliced at the moment there, but who's to say that there's not like a slicer in the back where in the morning they do everything ahead, kind of like what Jimmy John's does. So I don't know, and I'm not gonna make any judgment off of that. When the cold cuts are sliced nice and fresh and kind of piled on there, it's one thing. When they're slapped on there, honestly, it almost doesn't make a difference to me. And while we're talking about the cold cuts, let's talk about the meat quality. On this thing, we had pepperoni, salami, ham, and provolone, in addition to our toppings, but we'll circle back to those in a sec. The pepperoni tasted like nothing. It's kind of odd because pepperoni is usually one of those bolder flavors that you get out of something. Salami tasted even more like nothing, and the ham tasted even more like nothing. So it was like the meats really brought nothing to the table except for like that texture of cold cuts. And then they add double provolone, so you have this kind of squishy layer of cheeses that meld together with no flavor at all. I really don't know how Subway does this, that they have provolone that has absolutely no flavor at all alcohol or funkiness. Provolone is one of those cheeses where even if you get the mildest provolone, you definitely smell that kind of funkiness, and I don't understand where it was here. It's kind of amazing to me. Almost like their cheese is more like a mozzarella than a provolone. But the toppings is where this really fails, because you have your lettuce and tomato, and they're definitely like a soulless sitting around on this buffet there. They bring nothing to the table aside from maybe a little bit of texture. And there were onions in this thing, and you'd never know it because that MVP dressing, and I'm gonna say it's not a most valuable player dressing, it's a most vile player dressing. It's gross. And I say that, I actually like some of Subway's sauces. Sweet onion chicken teriyaki sauce is awesome. Their honey mustard is very good. Their chipotle sauce is very good as well. This MVP Italian dressing is awful. First of all, it has kind of that like thick vegetable oil, kind of like refrigerated dressing feeling that is just, it's hard for me to get past. But whatever's going on with those herbs, it's definitely not the move. And taken together, those herbs and that dressing really dominates the entire thing. And the meat and cheese is kind of non-existent as far as flavor. And you couple that with the fact that you have the bread that has completely collapsed and disintegrated, it is not a good experience. But I was really curious about these foot-long sidekicks. I picked up each of those, the churro, the pretzel, and the cookie, and I had to try them while they were warm. First up, we got the churro, and let me tell you, they're not set up for this at all. They essentially use the same oven that they toast the sandwiches in. For the churro, what they do is, it's like a 25-second toast, and then they take it back to the sandwich station, they brush it with a little something, and then they sprinkle it with the cinnamon sugar. Cinnamon sugar all over the place, and you know, it is what it is. But let's see how it tastes. Very chewy. Way more chewy than the churro should be. It says here that it's actually Cinnabon churro. The flavoring that they shake on there is very good. The cinnamon is great. The churro itself, it's very dense, oily, definitely not like that shattery kind of profiterole like churro taste. Next up, the pretzel, and they say this one actually comes from Auntie Anne's, like a collab with Auntie Anne's. Let's see how it tastes and then we'll talk a little bit about it. This is a little better than the churro, but I would say marginally. It's very chewy. Like, it seems like maybe this has been sitting around for a while. Whatever they rubbed on there, it reminds you of that grease of like a mall pretzel. Pretty good. Last but not least, we have the foot-long cookie. It's still really nice and warm, and I can't wait to dig in. It smells like, this is the one thing in my car that smelled like absolutely amazing. So let's see what we got here. Oh man. It's very hot. Very hot. Very gooey. It's sitting in this kind of cardboardy thing. It's delicious. It's just not at all crispy. You need a little bit of crispness to a cookie, especially something in a bar form like this. It tastes all right. It's just so disappointing how like kind of stale it tastes. Now, one thing I forgot in the whole kind of confusion of trying to film everything and get my B-roll and get my thumbnail and all that, they actually gave me a side of honey mustard to dip the pretzel. So when I got back to my office, I decided to do it. And I will say the honey mustard definitely helps. The 10-minute drive back to my office, that thing got to room temperature, and because of whatever microwave or toaster they use, it just was like a stale piece of bread, which was really unfortunate. And even more unfortunate, the cookie by then was completely inedible and rubbery, and it was really regrettable because I only had a bite while I was trying it for the camera here. So I'd recommend getting that foot-long cookie, but make sure you have a couple friends on hand so that you guys finish it while it's actually warm, because I don't even think reheating this thing would actually help. I have plenty more Italian sub breakdowns for you to watch. Just click into this playlist right here and it'll take you right to the next video. Thank you so much for watching. Have an amazing day.